Hello, church family. If you've ever been unprepared, you've felt that nervous, empty pit in your stomach. In these moments, fear can overwhelm us and panic can set in and take control of our lives. Maybe this was a pop quiz you should have studied for. Maybe this was a job interview with questions that you hadn't thought through. Maybe this was something small like forgetting sunscreen on a trip to the lake. Whatever the situation that left you feeling unprepared, there were consequences. It may have been minor embarrassment, a small inconvenience, or a larger, more significant mistake. To prepare means to make something ready. When we look at it like that, we are constantly getting ready for something. In the morning, we prepare for our day. In the evening, we prepare for bed. We prepare meals for our families. At work, we prepare to interact with customers and coworkers. We prepare for relationships, for marriage, and even for kids. It's almost like we're preparing for our entire lives. So the question becomes, with so much of our lives spent in preparation, in getting ready, am I ready for the most important thing? Have I prepared for life's biggest moment? We might think of that those might be learning to ride a bike, driving a car on my own, graduating from high school or college, getting married, having kids. Maybe it's seeing our kids graduate, seeing our children get married and then have grandchildren. Those are important life moments for sure, but is it life's biggest moment? Is it the most significant moment? Let me ask you this. Which of these moments did Jesus have? I'll say this another way. If Jesus was going to tell you one thing that you needed to be ready for, one thing that you needed to be prepared for, what do you think that thing would be? Let's look together at what Jesus shared with his disciples. First in Luke chapter 12, verse 35. He says, "Be dressed, ready for service, and keep your lamps burning, like servants waiting for their master to return from a wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, they can immediately open the door for him. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them watching when he comes. Truly, I tell you, he will dress himself to serve, will have them recline at the table, and will come and wait on them. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them ready, even if he comes in the middle of the night or toward daybreak. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, because of the Son of Man will come in an hour when you do not expect him." Jesus shares something similar in Matthew 24, verse 44. He says, "Therefore, you also must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming in an hour you do not expect. Who then is faithful and wise servant, who his master has set over his household to give them their food in the proper time? Blessed is the servant who his master will find so doing when he comes. Truly, I say to you, he will set him over all his possessions." Now, in both of these passages, Jesus is speaking of his return. That moment when he comes back and he calls those who belong to him to rise up to meet him. This is that moment that Jesus wants his disciples to be prepared for, to be ready for. He doesn't want to find them spiritually asleep. He wants to see that this is the moment his disciples have been preparing their entire lives for. Jesus wants to see how we've prepared in our lives to meet him in that moment. Jesus is more concerned with our spiritual walk than our physical accomplishments. Jesus cares more about where we spend eternity than the events that make up our lives. You see, faith is not measured by wealth, success, children, or grandchildren. It's not determined by church attendance or contribution. Faith has very little to do with likes, followers, or friends. Now, I'm not saying that Jesus doesn't care about you, your family, or about your work. He absolutely does. He loves you so much. But in that moment, as we stand before Jesus, the question is, will our lives reflect readiness, preparedness for his return? Will our lives have displayed faithfulness and wisdom? Will our lives have modeled love and kindness? If tonight you're doubting your readiness level and are needing to ramp up your commitment to preparing, reach out to me, to one of our elders or the ministers that we have on staff, and we would love to talk with you about where you are and how we can help you have a faith that is ready for Jesus. Remember, if Jesus was going to tell you one thing that you needed to be ready for, one thing that you needed to be prepared for, it's that moment when he returns. God bless and have a great night.